me check my email. Jan, tell us more about, Joel and I know each other from a while ago, so we'll do a little catching up here.
Okay.
But why don't we, I am recording, by the way, at this point, just so you know. Um, so why don't we introduce ourselves to each other? And then if Christina and some others come who you may know, that's cool. Joel, why don't you say who you are and what you've been up to these days?
Sure. So my name is Joel Malley, and I teach English at Cheektowaga Central High School. Um, Currently teach a couple of senior electives and a couple of freshman classes as well. I'm a National Writing Project person, Western New York Writing Project person specifically, which had a brief little pause for a few years and now is getting back on its feet.
Is
The
it good?
project itself, not me. And I don't know. I've been keeping busy, Paul. I've been doing, doing the stuff.
Still doing more
Haven't.
video?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. So
cool.
now I have the opportunity to teach two digital writing workshop electives. One focusing on our morning show that I took over at our school, and then the other just making more like longer documentary pieces. So two classes that are pretty much devoted to students making films about stuff. So
And
that's what I've been doing for a while.
I popped your school into Google Maps just to see how far away you were from the supermarket. And you're not that far away, but you are outside of the city of Buffalo. Is that right?
Yeah, we're an inner ring suburb, so we
Okay.
border the east side right there. We have a common border with Buffalo. Um, yeah, so I think we're about 7 miles away from that specific tops.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Jen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello. I'm Jan Rogue, and I teach at community college, so Metropolitan Community College Longview, which is in Kansas City, greater Kansas City.
Cool.
And I'm in the Greater Kansas City Writing Project.
So you're in a border town too.
Yes, in many
Yeah.
ways.
Okay.
So I first went through in 2008. Very different feel, energy, as everything was shifting at that time. And then in 2020, I went through the Summer Institute again, and we were completely online
Wow.
on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And what a different time, a different tenor. Uh, the seeds that we had really started planting earlier came about and changed. And I really love the direction, the new teachers that we have, things that we were starting to work on and continue to work on. I saw a huge difference when I went through in the Writing Project Summer Institute again.
Hmm. And where do you teach at a community college, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
And literally, my students have been writing about their fears. Students who have children are worried about their children. One young woman really was distressed even before the shooting in Buffalo. And so she really was just in pain. So I listened more than anything these past few days. And we're closing up the semester, so she doesn't have a place to go right now. So when I saw this, I thought, I'll go.
That's great. I mean, that is absolutely an interesting issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we're kind of closing down, and I don't know. But the odd thing is when 9/11 happened, that was a while ago, but that was when we were starting up, right? And so I guess we have to be ready to turn and listen and be aware of what's going on at any moment. But
One of the things that on Monday that I shared with my students, with my freshman students, as we were talking, so we started off class and And I said, I just had a little slide up. I'm like, I know we're teaching, we're reading Mouse right now. We're talking, that's what we're really focusing on. But I said, why don't we take a time out, just have a conversation. I did a lot of listening, but also, I'm a person in the room too. So I just shared, how, um, I cannot like my children. I have a seventh grader and a senior or junior in high school now. And since Sandy Hook, I've never been able to pick them up from school without that being the first thing that
Wow.
goes through my head. And
Well, he said
same
he was
thing with
gonna.
sitting in the movie theater. At the beginning of a movie, since Colorado shooting, it's not like it's there. It's always there.
Yeah, I mean, he said he was going to target schools too, or he was thinking to, but was worried he couldn't get into them. But
Hmm.
yeah, crazy. Yeah. So what did you? How are your kids? They're very close to Buffalo there, right? I mean, are
Yeah,
they?
sure. So,
How,
I mean, very close. Some people knew people who shop there. So, the whole Buffalo's a very small town for a small city. Everybody knows everybody. And I had one girl in my first period class, a senior, who said, "You know what, Mr. Malley, I never thought it could happen here. I never thought it could happen in Buffalo." Right? And this is our first mass shooting, anywhere around here within who knows how many square miles. So it is, is introduction of sorts. So yeah, a lot of the kids were, I would say all the kids were, they wanted to open up and talk, whether they were seniors or whether they were freshmen. They had a
Yeah,
lot to say over the course of the period and throughout the week so far.
it's hard. Yeah.
thanks for sharing that, Christina. Welcome.
Hi.
This is us tonight,
Yeah.
which is
Hi,
cool.
Joel. It's been a
Hey,
while.
how are you? I know. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
And do you know Jan from
I was gonna say, I feel like I've
Great?
Yeah.
Go
Yes.
introduce
Hello.
yourself again, Jan. Go ahead.
Oh, here I am. Hello.
Hi.
This is kind of awkward here as I'm balancing things. So
Are you on a
how are you?
computer or?
Yeah. It's just a little precarious right now,
Okay.
but I'll get it situated while you guys talk.
Okay. Jan's at a community
I've seen
college
Jan.
and teaches and is with is it Greater Kansas City? So did I get that correct?
Yes,
Writing project
exactly.
and comes to us through the studio. Anyway, so I did. What have you been thinking, Christina? Welcome. Joel just shared a little bit about what he's doing with his ninth grade class and a senior who spoke up as well. Any thoughts that you have as you come in here? You posted a couple things on the studio about what teachers might be doing as well.
Yeah, I just posted. Catherine Schulten put together this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really. I'm sorry. It links back to. I'm trying to find it. It links back to the. Facing history in ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So
The sort of teaching in the wake of violence work. This is what I.
So one of the things I'll do is I'll put together a set of resources and kind of create a cabinet here for that. The
I feel like this is kind of an interesting list here on this one.
Do you want to share or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, let me.
Or you put it on.
I just put it in the chat, but hold on, I can pull this up.
Okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
I mean, I actually think this one. So this is the original article that Catherine Schulten
Are you presenting or no? Were you
Oh,
intending
sorry.
to? Okay.
No, you told me to, and then I stopped.
Okay. And I think the best thing to do is present a tab. That works easiest.
Okay. Okay. Now you can see it, right?
We can now, yes. And by the way, Jan and Joel, you on the top bar of the share screen, which you can move around, there is a enter full screen button. When you hit that, you'll be able to see it bigger, and you'll be able to see us bigger too. Did that work? Thumbs up? Yeah.
I have to say, this is super neat. The Kumo space, I've never been.
Yeah, cool. Okay, go ahead, Christina.
So, so what I thought was interesting about this piece was, what she puts together, which is a New York Times Learning Network, is that, she's kind of responding to like the news as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, she says the Times continues to update and then points to one of the recent articles that's already published. So, I don't know. That just seemed like a,
Mm-hmm.
and then she really focuses on this media analysis piece, right? And how to make connections. So all of this is pretty intense, but it seems like really a very proactive way to sort of engage with, like, directly with news. And then, can you see?
So if you go to a different tab, there's a toggle at the top of each tab that says show this tab now. Something to
Oh, yeah. There is. Okay. Oh, I stopped sharing. Sorry.
That's cool.
Everyone
Everyone does exactly that.
Everybody does, yeah. And then, so I thought this was an interesting supportive resource from facing history in ourselves. Excuse me, because this is actually, the New York Times piece is pretty intense and is looking at, really like news feed as it's happening. This, I thought, had like an interesting list for teachers, the start with yourself, coordinate with colleagues, initial classroom response, consider factors, explore community resources, and strategies for following the news, right? So like it kind of provided this scaffold before you get deep into those news pieces, which are so intense. So anyway, they just seemed like kind of a thoughtful pair of resources. I'm not working with kids right now, so
yeah, Jan is working with community college students, right? And Jan, I appreciate your persistence here.
Oh, thank you.
And Joel, how much longer do you have your kids? And are you planning to?
We've got about 3.5 weeks left. We go till mid-June. So, like I said, we're in we're currently reading Mouse for like the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
Mouse 2.
read that.
So then we're finishing up after that. But those the brief glimpses I saw of those questions, that would have been helpful. So I found that like couple classes of freshmen, the conversation went really easy, and all I had to say is like, so what are you thinking? What's going on? And things kind of snowballed from there. We kind of talked and listened. But for my one particular class, it's always it's my biggest class, but also in my class that really excels, but they're not always the most participatory. So class kind of maybe sputtered a little bit, our conversation. So having some questions in the can might have been super helpful for getting through those dry patches where I'm struggling just to keep the conversation going or get somewhere. I don't know.
And Jan, I just want to pick up the thread that you said that one of your students was afraid for her children and for herself.
Well,
And
actually, we have had through the well, through the pandemic, and then students will follow me, and like from the developmental education composition classes, and then they'll take classes again, then they'll take more. Um, they start to build like cohort among themselves, and they've been seeing these themes repeat. Um, I also use facing history and ourselves, and that really helps them develop good listening skills and thoughtful discussions and a lot of disciplined thinking. And I like how one student said that she's not only learning a different mindset, but she's learning a different heart set about the way they work with each other.
Hmm.
That the one young woman, her name, well, I'm not going to tell you her name. I didn't ask her if I could give her name tonight, but she is worried about her 5 children and herself because uh, there's a safety that she has with friends that she knows and the studies that she has, but tensions are so high in many cases right now, and the social distancing just made it more difficult. And then this idea that, again, I've been listening more than talking, and she's talked a lot. She has really needed to talk, and we have not met since last Tuesday, the day of our final. And she's worried about a group that she can join. I've um, she knows my number. She knows um, that we have our library we can go to. I ask her safe places she likes to go. I don't say come to a new neighborhood or anything like that. I go to where she is comfortable first going. Um, but I've also um, been saying, here are some resources, here are places you can go. But the fear that she has children who are dependent on her, and she doesn't know what to do to keep them safe. Similar to what you had said, I believe, Joel, since Sandy Hook, that whole feeling of just a fear that creeps in because we've seen a reality that can harm people, kill people. So uh, that's where we
Yeah.
are.
Jan, is she Black or?
She's Black.
Okay.
Yeah, she's Black. She is. She says she's Black lesbian, but she doesn't mind being called queer because within her community that is something that brings out pride, but it's also something that others in her larger community um, judge her for, and that's not what she's supposed to be as a mother. So she's feeling many different tensions in many different ways, and while we do things, and many teachers are doing some really good things, we sometimes get mandates talked about in our schools, and then through Missouri, like, oh, you're not supposed to teach anything that's controversial. It's like, what? And then um, I was supposed to report if I was teaching Howard Zinn. And I thought, Howard Zinn has been part of my teaching for so long and you never cared. And then, of course, I'm not going to sit and report that. I mean, it's just, it's an insane time. And
So
I just feel this, this frustration because I'm learning whom to work with, whom to collaborate with. But it's not just me, it's there are students that we are all responsible for. But I don't know that we're always helping them move forward. So that's where I am.
Wow.
Hmm.
Joe, I don't mean to ping pong back and forth, but I'm just trying to think. The connections you mentioned connections to mouse, but what are those actual connections they're making?
Well,
And is there more than fear they're having? Is there? I'm asking more than one question, but is there like anger they're having too? And like is anti-racism part of the picture? Yeah.
so I think like, instead we started to read Mouse. And this is the first year I've taught Mouse, kind of reading it along with students. And really the reason why I
And these are
started
ninth
teaching it,
graders, right?
ninth graders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had the book for 2 years. I haven't taught it yet but that I saw that it was being challenged in Tennessee, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna teach that. I'm gonna use that book in class now. So that was the impetus for me to start teaching that,
Yeah.
or to start reading it with my students. But we one of the questions we've been asking ourselves the whole time that we've been talking about is like, how can you take ordinary human beings, ordinary German people, moms and dads who people around the corner probably thought they're pretty good people. How do you take people and convince them, ordinary people like mom and pops, um, to hate to that level, to do those atrocities? The kid down the street, the football player. How do you do that? And one of the conversations we started off with Monday is like, how is it even possible? And talking about how is this even possible, and kind of jumping back and forth from mouse to what happened down the street is, it's kind of it's kind of where we were teasing out those connections. So he talked about,
Yeah.
just like, what it looks like when a group of people, whether it be a fringe group, or the majority, as in the case in Germany, starts to target and blame people for their problems. So we explored, that connection there. We explored, just like, what is the slow devolution? Like, how do things go from normal to horrific and such a slippery slope, and just kind of and all that stuff. And we talked a little bit about how, because at this point on Monday it wasn't like there were rumors out there. There was things that were being tweeted. There were hazy reports. You obviously left the manifesto, so it was more clear than usual. It usually is the case 2 days after, but a lot of our conversation was just kind of like wading through, like, oh yeah, I heard this. Oh, I heard that, and just kind of like, dispelling some myths. But also confirming some things and what we thought about things, but always drawing the connection between, well, here's a kid 3 hours away who has this hatred in his heart. He blames people for this. He has anti-Semitic views too. Um, how is this possible in 2022? We saw it here in 1944, in this book. So just kind of, I'm sorry to have a more specific answer about those connections, but generally those were the things we were discussing around.
That all sounded very specific to me. Yeah, interesting. Wow.
I mean, I guess I'm also trying to understand. So I haven't done enough reading on this, but the sort of fringe conspiracy theories and how much actually they are becoming more mainstream, in the GOP, and they're I don't know what has actually been said, like sort of defending this kind of stuff, right? Like even in our sort of more mainstream discourse, it's really disturbing.
I mean, you've got Congress people and other figureheads posing in front of Christmas trees with their family, with their kids, guns in hand. You've got, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go over all of it. It's we know what's, but you've got people on TV talking about the Great Replacement theory, or 3 years ago, building walls. I mean, it's all the same. It's
Yeah.
all the same.
I guess I was thinking about like how do we start to sort of connect all those pieces? Yeah. And like what do you I don't know. I guess I was just thinking about how it is like kind of a media literacy piece. Again, it's like trying to understand the media ecosystem we're all swimming in.
I want to feel some caution about the screed, which, the manifesto, whatever we want to call it. Because, I mean, I think there's pretty good evidence that he basically copied that from, the Christchurch shooter, I think.
Yeah.
And elsewhere. But so, I mean, and, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about remixing things, and we talk all the time about, the media that kids are adopting and getting involved with. And, he was using Twitch is a really wonderful tool, right? And so forth. It's kind of weird to think that it's those things that we dabble with with our kids that that radicalized him and that he used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the tie-ins in just the fact that, this was 1 year ago when he was in school, or a year and a half ago, or whatever. His research report was, how to do a school shooting, or why I want to do a school shooting, right? So it's like, I don't know, the intersections with the classroom and with emerging medias and technologies and chat rooms and all that stuff. It's interesting. It's interesting to have this conversation here, right? So we were all in the early mid 2000s, whatever that decade is, between 2000 and 2010, whatever we're calling that. When everything felt so, wow, this technology, this can do this, that, the other. We were having those conversations in places, and everything was new and exciting, and you felt like you could do anything. And then 15, 17 years later, 10 years later, how many years it's been, and all along the line, certainly. I'm not saying it was, this is the snap, but it's been interesting to see, the bad developments, the more powerful developments, and just how it has worked over the past 15 years.
So I'm wanting to think about how we've talked with our colleagues about this. Have we? I'm not in a school right now either, Joel, so I'm just depending on you. Have you, and Jan, have you talked to colleagues about what's going on? Has your staff gotten together and said, how are we going to work with this?
Jan, I'll just hop in real quick. So on Monday after school, we had a faculty meeting. Like I said, it hasn't directly impacted me, or to my knowledge, anyone in our student body, as far as 1 degree of separation or anything like that. But we had a faculty meeting afterwards. Actually, our principal went on my morning show in the morning to talk to the students. Told me we had counselors on hand. Fill out this Google form if you need a one-on-one or a group talk, or if you decide throughout the day you want to talk, all that stuff. So, but then at the end of the day, we had a faculty meeting, and one of the questions were posed were, just what can we do about, what can we as a staff do? And to me, I'm conflicted, right? Because it's like, what came out of that staff meeting? People talked, which is great. Those conversations happen, which is great, and that's what we need. To just make sense of the stuff together. That's important. The most important thing. And then we had a dress down day where we chipped in money, and that went to that. So it's like this kind of collectivism. It feels like you're not, that is not, I don't know, great conversations, but maybe the thing that came out of it that's actionable was maybe, I don't know, it just seems so surface. Not that we meant it to be, just it does a little bit feel super on the surface. But then today, you know, over the last couple of days, I've seen other things emerge, like art in the hallways, like our art students. One girl started this little campaign. It's black and white hand, harpy in the middle, beautiful painting. They've made copies of it and put it around. You know, something, we are all the same. I forget what the slogan is. And if even they've painted a couple of portraits of some of the victims, some kids in our art students, you know, some of our art students, and those have been posted around the school. So it's been interesting to watch it evolve over the week. I know I didn't, you know, I went
No,
off there a little bit.
that's interesting. Yeah. What is the racial sort of makeup of your school? Is it,
Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you like specific numbers.
okay,
I don't know. We have a very diverse school, and it's you know, it's a great place to teach. I don't know. I'm not sure.
okay, sure.
It's yeah, I'm
Well,
not sure.
that's an answer. It's
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's
it's probably yeah. Yeah, it's a great place to teach. I have no idea.
all right, that's fine. That's fine. Jen, what about you? Have you talked to colleagues? Is that
No. At the end of the semester, when we have finals, we
Mhm.
tend to have our own separate schedules and not come in, especially since we had so many Zoom classes. We've relied more on just, um, not coming in if we don't have to. And
sure?
in my direct group of teachers, of other English teachers, we have different layers of problems, and I do not have children. I'm the only one who doesn't have children. I'm the only. I'm My father's a Polish refugee, born in Poland in 1940. So a lot has been coming up with my sisters as we've talked, and
Mm.
then my mother is Mexican American, and so um, in some ways, I listen and um, I work. I do a lot of the DEI work on my own, and sometimes it's frustrating because they just sometimes wonder why I get so worked up about things.
What's
And
DEI?
uh, uh, diversity, equity,
Okay,
and
got it.
inclusion.
Okay.
And so and that's so. Having said that, I have good friends who are colleagues and coworkers, and we say we have those honest conversations. Um, and I'm really mellow. I mean, I'm out about. I'm active, but I'm more of a listener than a talker. And uh, so for my friend Brandon, I reached out and um, we talked and had some really good, honest conversations. But that was on Monday that I could see him,
Mhm.
and it's also for me a process of it's still so numbing, and um, what we will see other things happen,
Yeah.
like here in Kansas City, and also my student. Um, Again, I won't say her name, um, knows Brandon as one of the people that she can go to also, and she'd feel safe talking with him. But
Cool. So,
I wrote a few
thank,
things in chat also.
you
Um,
wrote a few things, right? Is that what you said? Yeah. Oh, I see. Got it.
yeah,
Okay. I will.
yeah. For us, um, maybe and our school, the adults range in age um, from high school students taking
I see.
co-rec
Right. Yeah.
all the way through a student who's 85. So we have a wide range, a lot of different backgrounds, um, suburban, rural, and inner city, and they don't necessarily follow the patterns that we assign them. Quote assign them.
Mhm.
So it's critical that we have discussion about a safe topic, and then they work on parallel issues. Because for some people, they, like my colleagues, they don't understand why I got upset, and I went out and I spread information. I went and I gave information when there was going to be a housing unit for the children who come as undocumented people to the United States. The same things that we see along the border um, were that was going to be established here in Kansas City for children, and the whole idea was it was going to be for children. That implied it in itself. It was about not having families together.
Hmm.
So the reason I say that is, some of my colleagues were like, why are you making such a big deal about this? They're finding a safe place for them. It's like, no, there's layers, and there are things that the students don't get about each other, because, and especially for my young woman. You guys, I'm sorry. I had a ruptured brain aneurysm, so that's why everything was shaking. Um, in the evening, I start to lose the balance. So,
Jan,
my
I,
student is it touches her in a way that other students don't get, or they don't understand why she's not able to move on as fast. But when they learn to listen and they learn those parallel examples,
mhm.
they can then share different ways, and
Jan,
that's what
Jan,
I'm learning to do with them.
cool. Thanks for sharing that. I I did put just to pick up on one of the tips that Joel said there about students making images of the victims. The one of the things that I imagine we could do together and with students, I did construct in the upper part of this room, and I want to kind of show that to you. Does that feel like
Yeah.
a good thing to do?
Yes.
So you want to come up, move up with your up arrow, and you can stop here at, yeah. And so just a few bit of instructions, first of all. One is that you want to click on the now comment thing here and then open now comment and log in. Or Jan, if you're not a member, you could become a member really quickly. You just have to confirm it in your email. But you want to do that in a separate tab and then come back to this tab. But let me just show you around a little bit though. There are the 10 victims images are above. When you go onto a stage, you would if you were there with 2 or 3 other people, you would have privacy in that space, just to say the sound works that way. But when you click on each image, it takes you to a CNN few paragraphs about that person. And the idea I had here was that you could leave a comment about that person, for that person. You could create a poem, you could leave a video, you could add images, you could do whatever you wanted to on a now comment. Let's so look around a little bit above, if you would, and find some. What I want to suggest you do is find somebody that you want to learn more about, and then we'll come and talk to you about that. How's that sound? If you want to leave a message there right now, you can, but at least find somebody. Okay, so let me just check in. Does that sound okay to do? Would you like to do that? So you want to go up, find a person that you want to learn a little more about, read about them, and then either leave a message there or we'll just come by and talk to you about it.
Paul, what I started doing, if you don't mind, was even just like scanning the now comment document.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what opened up for me. I think I'm doing.
So if you click on, if you click on the sign itself, it takes you to the whole document.
Okay. Oh, I see. At the top of the document are I was
And then,
mistaking what
and
you
then,
wanted me to click on.
right. And then, sorry, if you pop on the map, you will see that there is a stage for each person, right? So you can eventually scroll up to a person and say, oh, I'd like to learn more about her, or I'd like to learn more about him. Does that make some sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And remember, sorry, remember the minus key lets you see more of the screen, just to say that. Joel, remember the minus key lets you see more of the screen, so you can see more of what's in the room. Remember the minus key lets you see more of the room. I wanted to suggest that.
Okay.
Okay. Everything okay? Just checking in. You okay? Seem to be. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, are you talking to me specifically?
Yep, yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. Hi, Jen. Everything okay?
I'm coming to the end of my energy tonight.
Okay, okay, cool, cool.
I'm just typing this in instead. So
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. No, thank you for coming by. Appreciate it. Did you get into Now Comment?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. Hey there. Do you want? I could introduce Pearl to you. Anybody you'd like to talk about? Do you want to try this,
Yes.
or what are you thinking? Yeah.
Where did it go? I don't like. I don't know. I don't consume much media,
Mm-hmm.
or I really control my consumption of media. So I don't have a TV, and I don't watch CNN, and so like just reading through these is just heartbreaking.
No, I know. Yeah.
And I just haven't like even absorbed enough of it to like know. I don't know. I just like, I mean, I appreciate it as time to pay attention to who they all are and their personal stories. I mean, like, you know, this one guy, you know, was getting a cake for his 3-year-old, you know.
Hmm.
But
But it's hard to
or like this
it's hard to
30
take
year
it
old.
in. You're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, this one woman, you know, she's 32, Roberta. She's helping her brother with leukemia and helping her family run a restaurant, you know, and it's like just all the people, like how complex people's lives are, right? And then this guy kills them for this
Right.
Or so
insanity.
I have a I have a TV, but I don't watch. I don't watch. I watch Netflix. I watch Hulu. I don't watch the news. I'm not watching CNN. I'm not watching Fox. I'm not watching local. So anything that I have learned over the course of the past 5 days has been, reading the Buffalo News, reading the New York Times,
Yeah.
Twitter, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
what I've been most struck by also is just with the stories. I mean, in this act, I think there were at least two pillars of the community. The one woman she was an activist. She stuck her neck out for every past, 30, 40 years. If you read the biography that's posted above, people like Ava Doyle and other folks who are mentioned in that article are like the some of the most prominent politicians in Buffalo, former common council members, just like, and that was robbed, like you said, by some 18-year-old kid who got bored during COVID, went down a rabbit hole of research, started getting crazy ideas, and was able, it's how
He
is
was
this even
able to
possible?
he was able to actually also get all this stuff. He had all this tactical gear. Like the guard tried to stop him, and so it's like
Yeah, and there's some suggestion that he kept it secret from his parents, but how's that possible? I don't see
No,
how
I
that's
know. His dad bought him one. I mean, yes, absolutely. What you said is true. On the other, and then also at the same time, his dad bought him, I think, his handgun that he had on him. I think the kid bought the rifle himself, and his dad bought him the handgun, and then the kid bought the AR-15, which he learned how to mod. But
so.
It's a gun culture. His
Yeah.
family guns are a prominent part.
So I just wanted to mention that I spent this time right now reading about Pearl Young, I think is her last name. Let me just check for sure. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is Pearl Young.
You walked into the corner.
Yeah. Anyway, she's a 77-year-old woman, and she substitute teaches, and she substitute teaches at a Buffalo school called School for Hospitality, which I would love to learn more about. I think it's a VOTEC school. Do you know
Is it
anything about
Emerson?
this? Oh, yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So my uncle Jim taught cooking there until he retired last year. So he taught at Emerson for like 20 years. They run a little restaurant. Like that's part of the school. They run a highly trafficked restaurant right on the Chippewa Strip. Um, it's a really neat program.
Huh. So it's like details like that I want journalists to go find out about. I want to know more about that school and her impact in that school. I guess, I mean, even we went down the rabbit hole of how to get the guns, and I guess there are policy issues there, but for me, there's something
About
really
the people.
important about staying with the victims and understanding their lives and, following up with, were there children who loved her when she came in, when she substituted? How did that work? And,
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Paul. I think it's a powerful statement you're saying, because I mean, the whole othering, right? The way that we as humans seem to be able to other people, the only response to that is to bring their humanity forward.
Paul, you mentioned 9/11 earlier. I remember one of the features that the New York Times created after that is I forget if it was like a database or if it was something clickable where you could read. I think it was like they did it immediately after and then updated 10 years after. I don't remember if it was like letters to a loved one or something like that, but it was again that idea of focusing on the lives of the victim and what was,
right.
who was lost and what was lost. I can't remember
Yeah,
specifically what it was.
I
It was very
vaguely
powerful.
remember. Yeah. But this is what I would have students do, I think. I would want them to write poems memorializing these people. Like choose one and write a poem about that person. And then, or, share the stories they're learning, just like we started to do. And yet, yeah, the details of the shooter and all of that are going to come up. But, it's, yeah.
And that's a lot of what we talked about on Monday. I mean, I think for every kid in that room, myself as well, I think you got to, you have to find some answers how, right? You have to how and why, but the how, it's the fight or flight thing, right? It's how did this happen? And oh my gosh, is there anything that I could have done to avoid if I were in that? You know what I mean? You have to find those answers. I don't know. It's just such a complicated brew of emotions, I think. I hope that made sense. It didn't say,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
No, it
It's
did.
like,
I think you're right. I just, yeah.
I totally think you're right. And I think that even historically, we often focus on the brutalizers. I don't know. I'm just thinking like more like just not in a particular circumstance, but like how much about the Nazis do we know? Right? Like there's whole, or I don't know, any, they all become these like super mega characters, the people who perpetrated things instead of the people who were
Right. And in this
one,
group, there was a bus driver, there was a cop, it was just regular old people, just
stopping by the grocery store. Yeah.
But a bus driver who was loved by the kids on his bus, right? So I hope out of those stories we see some hope for, oh, I could do that too, or in my, yeah. I'm not sure what the stories of the shooter lead us to. They might lead us to
so I
policy
think
changes, but yeah.
one thing that I saw that I thought was powerful was our sheriff, the Erie County, I think he's the Erie County Sheriff, John Garcia might be his name. When asked about the shooter, he said, I'm not saying his name. He's like, we're not glorifying him. I will not repeat his name.
Yeah.
So I thought that.
I think that's powerful. I think that's like important for.
Yeah. Well, Joel, this is how these conversations go. Sometimes they're slow and just a few of us, and that's cool. And sometimes there are more of us here. Welcome back. If you want to come by anytime, let us know.
Yeah. So where is that? Is there like a schedule of future talks or?
Yeah, you know what?
Every Wednesday.
Yeah, we're here every Wednesday at this time. And yeah, sometimes we get a schedule going, and then sometimes not. But yeah, You mentioned earlier you're doing longer documentaries. I'd love to know what you're doing these days.
Yeah, not super long. When I say long, I mean, 3 minutes.
Oh, that is
So,
long in a TikTok world. Yeah.
yeah, well,
But yeah.
long enough for the students to really put some thought into the storytelling of it, the
Yeah.
organization and the balance and the letting the story breathe and all that good stuff. So, but I don't know. It's
Cool.
been interesting. It's great to be back in person. It's great to be working with students in the room, and I'm really blessed with a great bunch of seniors this year who are truly into it and doing some cool stuff. So
Do you have
it's been a good year.
so do you have some senior, or it doesn't have to be senior stuff, some end of year stuff that you could show us sometime?
So right now they're working on their final projects. That's what the senior electives are doing. They're currently working on them, and it's not everything's super serious. Like I give them a lot of latitude for their final projects. So some kids are doing a horror film because that's what they wanted to do, while other kids are doing more personal stuff. Like I have a couple of girls who are just doing a kind of a video essay about their friendship and how it's evolved since middle school. So a lot of personal topics and then some creative stuff.
And are you doing a showing of these in any way?
So now that I run the morning show at Cheektowaga Central High School, so
Oh,
we
you
do
show
show
those.
all. I mean, we show as many as we can right on the morning announcements. And that's been a blessing this year too, because in the past, I've shared films here and there at different things, but it's really been all about the classroom screening with the kids in the room that have made them. So this year, getting access to a wider audience that I can.
Yeah, that's
It's been
awesome.
really fun. Yeah, it's been super fun.
So why don't we schedule you in a couple of weeks? Do you mind?
No, not at all.
And I'd love to see some of these if you want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Always open
Good.
to share.
I'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Thanks, Christine.
Hey,
Talk to you.
thank you. Paul,
Yes.
could you, I don't want to give you another job. I'll
It's
do
okay.
it.
I don't mind.
But like posting the now comment in the media literacy group.
Yes, I will do that
Compact fiction.
with some thoughts about that I was spitting out there about why and so forth.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that would be great. And then I can jump in. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna exit the
Talk
room,
to
but
you.
it's very nice to see the both of you.
Oh, yep.
If I
and
can figure out how to exit this room.
there-
Back to
what-
lab.
Back to the lobby.
back to the
Yeah.
lobby. See you later.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Joel. Bye.